All right, back on the Young Turks. Now we're going to talk to Jesse Eisinger. He's a reporter with ProPublica, and they have written an excellent story about Merrill Lynch, and I want to talk to him about that. Jesse, welcome to the Young Turks.
Hi, thanks for having me on.
All right, great to have you here. Let's see, where should we get started with this? First, I guess let's explain to people what Merrill Lynch was doing with CDOs in the first place, what CDOs are, before we get into the dicey stuff that they started to do with them later.
Sure. I mean, these are the toxic securities that people heard about that the banks were holding. And what they were bundles of mortgage securities. Mortgage was made by a company like New Century or Countrywide, and Wall Street bought them, and they bundled them up into mortgage securities, and then they rebundled them through the miracle of securitization and all this sort of financial chicanery and whiz-bang technology, and they mashed them up into things called CDOs. And then they sliced them up and sold them to investors, and Merrill was the number one player. They led the market in this in 2005, 2006, the boom years for this stuff.
So, they're taking these questionable mortgages and they're finding a way to sell them off to others. But at some point they run into a problem because people stop buying them, right?
Yeah, exactly. So much earlier than anybody knew before our reporting, the market totally dried up. The big investors didn't want to buy this stuff. They didn't think that the risks were worth the meager rewards from the returns that these provided. And so Wall Street faced a big problem. They couldn't sell this stuff. They couldn't find customers. Or, customers largely disappeared. They were still going over to Asia and Taiwanese banks and Chinese banks and finding customers here and there. But largely, they had a problem because their customers had dropped out of the market, namely AIG, which had so much of it that they just decided, we got to stop. Of course, it didn't save that insurance company, but they had stopped in late 2005, early 2006. So Merrill faced this big problem, what to do, how do we sell this stuff, how do we keep our machine going?
Well, you see, and the reason I love this story is because it's going to lead into the inescapable conclusion that these guys knew what they were doing was wrong, right? So, and because the thing is, I mean, we laugh about it, Jesse, but they still won't admit it. The government doesn't say it, right? They're still getting the huge bonuses, et cetera. So that's what's driving us crazy. So let's make that turn now. So they had these questionable stuff, and they were selling it for a long time to people like AIG. They're making a lot of money off of it, commissions, et cetera, right? People stop buying it. So what do they do next? That's the really interesting part.
Exactly. So they're faced with this problem. Do we keep this high profitable machine going, or do we wind it up because nobody's buying our stuff? Now, most people would think if nobody can buy our stuff, we got to wind it up. We face no choice. But they decided, well, what we could do is just keep the stuff. We can sell it to another group within the bank. And they went around, and lots of traders at Merrill who run their own little funds within Merrill, they said, no, we don't want to buy this stuff. We don't like it. But there was one group that said, okay, we'll take it. We'll buy the stuff that you can't sell to anybody else. Money-losing trades for this desk. So why did they agree to do that? This is the big mystery, because a lot of people know the banks had these toxic assets, but the question is, why did they bother to buy them? And the answer that we found was that there was essentially internal payola. There was a kind of money transfer from the desk that was creating these but wasn't allowed to keep them. They weren't allowed to keep them because it would give a bad incentive to them, obviously. They could create as many as they want if they were allowed to keep them. They had to get rid of them. And so they subsidized the trading group that they found to take them, to buy them. They split their bonuses with them.
See, that leads to two parts which, in my opinion, absolutely proves fraud here, right? One is that they're selling it to their own company, which is absurd on its face, first of all. Look, so I put together this terrible toxic mortgage, and I can't find anybody to sell it to, so I'm just going to sell it within my company and take the bonuses for it anyway, right? But the second part is actually more damaging, which is that even the other part of my company won't buy it because it's so much obvious crap that I have to pay them off to buy this stuff internally, so we both make bonuses, full well knowing that we're putting our own company at great risk. Isn't it basically a tight, airtight case that they knew what they were doing was absolutely wrong?
Well, I think it's worth investigating. The SEC seems to have investigated and not come up with anything. There was an investigation in late 2007 when this first started coming out, when Merrill first started admitting that they had taken billions and billions of losses in these toxic securities, and people wondered, well, how the hell did that happen? And the SEC started to look into that and started to look in, well, did they misrepresent the prices of these assets? Did they misrepresent anything to the public about these assets? And then somehow nothing happened. And no top-level Merrill executive has been indicted. No top-level Merrill executive has really been seriously investigated to the point where it would come out in public. And Merrill did pay a little bit of a fine, but that was for its disclosures around bonuses when it was forced to be taken over by Bank of America to essentially save the company, but that happened in 2008, in September 2008, at the height of the financial crisis. So your question is very good. That's a question we have. I don't think we found definitive proof in our story of the state of mind of these guys. That's very, very hard to prove. And the problem with securities laws, or the strength of it, depending on how you see it, is that you have to prove knowledge. You have to prove that you know you're doing something wrong when you're doing it. And that's an extremely high bar for the SEC and regulators to prove before they can bring these cases.
Jesse, let's break that down into its two component parts. One is common sense, realistically. Do we know that they know what they're doing is wrong? Well, when somebody says, I won't buy your garbage, oh, you're paying me $1 million of your bonus? Well, then I'll buy it no matter how much damage it does to the company. You and I know, everybody knows that they know that it's toxic and they know that they're doing it for their own benefit, not the benefit of the company. Okay, the second part of it is, can you prove that in a court of law that it's criminal or civil fraud, right? First, can I get agreement with you on the first part, or are you going to be careful on that one?
No, I mean, to me, I think that they had every incentive to blow up their own banks for their own gain. That's clearly the case. Whether there was the problem is that they have an enormous incentive to be self-deluded too. And so I think some of them were self-deluded and thought, and this is what they've told us, that they thought these things were coming back. They thought this was a temporary dislocation of the market, and that was very, very stupid and reckless and terrible analysis. They shouldn't have thought that, but I think that some of them genuinely did think that, and I think others didn't. I think others knew that this was bad, but and probably thought this was a bad thing. Now, what we need to do is, or what we would need to find there is the email, the voicemail, some kind of record that showed their thinking, and maybe they didn't put it in writing. Maybe they were too smart for this.
See, first of all, Jesse, let me just get out of the way that I totally agree with you. I think it's a combo. I'm positive some people deluded themselves into thinking, oh, yeah, it'll be fine, just give me the $1 million or $10 million or $40 million bonus, and I'm sure it'll be fine, it'll recover, right? And other people...
there's that old Upton Sinclair line, right? It's difficult to get a man to understand something when his salary depends on his not understanding it.
That's exactly right? And then others absolutely knew. I mean, we already see the emails from Goldman Sachs where they say we're selling crap and we know it. We saw the emails from Countrywide where Mozillo talks about how this is the most toxic thing he's ever seen, et cetera, et cetera. Now, they should have gone after those guys criminally. One wonders if they're ever going to, right? Here, we're not sure if they have the internal emails, but, there's this WikiLeaks threat that there might be coming after releasing documents of a bank. People think it might be Bank of America. Bank of America bought Merrill Lynch. So it certainly is possible that we will find out very soon if that happened. But the reason I bring that up is, isn't it true that the regulators have as much to worry about those kind of WikiLeaks revelations as the actual banks themselves? Because if we find out that there were those emails, we'll see that the regulators weren't doing their jobs at all.
I think this is going to be very interesting. I would say I'm probably one of a small handful of people who are the most eager to see if Julian Assange has anything on Bank of America and Merrill Lynch, or if this was, all smoke and all talk and nothing happened. But the regulators are absolutely on the hook if there was some kind of smoking gun. The regulators have been extremely lax, tepid in their response. These are very hard cases, and I have some sympathy for them, but it's shocking that after the greatest financial crisis that the world has ever seen, that no high-level Wall Street executive has even been indicted, much less tried, much less that they've tried to do anything. They're doing a big insider trading investigation and nabbing a few hedge funds, most of which nobody's ever heard of, and a few Silicon Valley executives. That's a sideshow. This financial crisis blew up our economy and blew up the global economy and our financial system, and there's been nothing of any serious consequence, and I think it should shock us.
Well, as the bankers are telling Obama that he's been too tough on them, we have not had a single business journalist on this program, and we've talked to dozens, maybe in the triple digits, who have said that they've been nearly tough enough, right? And you echo that as well. No, none of these guys got charged. It's been a free ride. But to end all of that up and wrap it up, tell us what happened to those Merrill Lynch guys after they got absorbed by Bank of America. Did they wind up getting their bonus anyway, Jesse?
They got bonuses, and not only that, but a bunch of them are now in high-level positions at other investment banks. Some of them are still at Bank of America, pulling down what I assume are very nice salaries. There's one guy who's a high-level executive at Morgan Stanley. There's another guy who's running a hedge fund out of London. These guys are doing fine. Their bank accounts are fine. Their reputations are pretty good. They're pulling down big salaries today. And in fact, there are a handful of kind of whistleblowers and people who resisted this at Merrill, and they're relatively not thriving. It's almost as if you had to be in on the game to really thrive, and if you raised problems, it's still hurting your career today.
No, but you know what, Jesse? That actually is the most damning part of it all, because this is how the machine works. If you play ball, you get rewarded millions upon millions of dollars. Even if you crash the worldwide economy, not only do you not suffer any consequences, you get additional bonuses. But if you said, hey, wait a minute, this isn't right, you get crushed. You do not get rewarded. Sometimes you even get fired. The bad guys win, the good guys lose. What does that create? That creates an incentive to create a system that is guaranteed to blow up.
Well, I agree with you completely. We have not given anyone an incentive to ever look crossways at bad investments from investment banks. In fact, we bailed them out with very little consequence.
And I will tell you this, and I'll end on this note. We have not changed this system at all, thereby absolutely, positively, 100%, ironically take it to the bank. This will blow again. You cannot have this incentive structure without it collapsing. It is not possible.
Yeah, I think that the reforms have been so tepid that that's possible. I don't know if it's going to, it's going to make fools of us trying to predict when it's going to happen. But I think the system is very vulnerable to this kind of thing because we have not reformed any of the incentive structure in any significant way.
All right, Jesse Eisinger, great article at ProPublica. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Guys, we'll come back with an excellent post-game show for you guys. Come right back.